The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Welcome to Catholic Chicago. This is the Black Catholic Initiative, bringing you the experiences, perspectives, and insights of Black Catholics from the Archdiocese of Chicago, from the north to the south, to the east and the west. We discuss what's happening, what and who is having an impact on the Black Catholic community, and more importantly, how we move forward in faith that is uniquely Catholic and uniquely Black. I'm Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago, sitting in for Father Michael Trail. Delighted to be with you today with our guest, Andrew and Teri Lyke. I titled this show, Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. Marriage, Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. And we have Andrew and Teri with us, a couple who have been in this space of marriage and helping couples enrich their married life for many years. I'd like to, for those who haven't had an opportunity to meet you and learn a little bit about your story, if you could give us a little bit of your background and your story before we begin.
Well, we married in 1975. It was right after kindergarten.
So next year will be our 50th.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And when we married, it wasn't in a church. I was on the outs with the church, and we don't need to go into that. That's another show. But nonetheless, we married in 1975, and then it was around 1978, after those earliest years of a lot of struggle. You know, we were kids and didn't know what we were doing, and we had friends who had gone on a marriage encounter weekend. And we saw something magical in them. And we said, what was that? We want some of that, you know? And so that brought us to Marriage Encounter. And the Marriage Encounter experience was really a calling back to church and seeing that sacramental nature of our marriage for the first time. And it was a conversion experience in a lot of ways.
So that brought us back to church.
Yeah.
We were part of a marriage sharing group. And from there, we said, okay, let's get more people, friends of ours to attend the marriage encounter. So we went around and we were pretty successful in getting people to come together to go to the information nights, but they really didn't want to go to the weekend experience because it wasn't part of our community.
And those few couples who we got to go on the weekend, they just didn't have the same powerful experience we had. And we came to realize that it was because for us, based on our experiences with school and work, and even where we lived in the western suburbs. Okay. That we were bicultural. And it was natural for us to translate that into our own experiences, everything we heard on the weekend. And we did it rather easily. But we realized also it's basically because we have that, we can speak the language, we can translate
their experiences
to ours culturally. And so we spent much of our energy then trying to convince Marriage Encounter to shape the weekend in such a way that it was culturally relevant to Black people, because when they designed it, they didn't have us in mind.
Okay.
So we talked to Andrew's uncle, who was Archbishop at the time, he was Archbishop.
No, auxiliary bishop.
Oh. At the time, he was just auxiliary bishop of Cleveland, Archbishop later, Archbishop Lyke. And he was our mentor.
Yeah.
And in our marriage, especially, we were his project, so to speak. And the thing about it, we gave him a little story about our experience at a convention and how the Marriage Encounter people just asked us to leave because, yeah, oh yeah. We said, well, their outline it was a little outdated. It wasn't inclusive enough, that kind of thing. And back then, that was really heresy.
So mind you, this was in the 80s.
Okay.
No, the earliest 80s.
Yes, early 80s.
If not late 70s,
Mm-hmm. And so we were on the phone talking to him, and what did you tell him?
Well, I was telling my Uncle Jim about, how we were so disappointed that we just felt like we couldn't work with Marriage Encounter in this regard. He asked the question, why do we think we need Marriage Encounter? You could do this yourselves.
Mm.
And my response to him was, I don't think we're Catholic enough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, I'm hearing him telling someone in the room, repeating what I'm saying. At first, I'm a little offended. Like, who the hell is he talking to, about our business, And next thing you know, Sister Thea is on the phone.
That was his friend.
And Sister Thea was very supportive of what we were doing and was very encouraging always. But she said, what you talking about, boy, that you ain't Catholic enough? You need to know something. You are as Catholic as the Pope. Act like it. And so we took those words very seriously. That yeah, we need to act like it. That means that if we don't feel that we have enough to do this, go get it. Get ready for it. And that's just what we did. We did a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of consulting. And then we were invited by the Archdiocese of Chicago to be among the 3 couples that were starting the pre-Cana for the Black community.
Okay.
So mind you, this was the first of its kind in the country where you have a pre-Cana program that is designed and for and by African-American couples.
Or at least the diocesan program.
Yes.
And at what time period was this?
This was, we started the conversations on that in 1981, and we launched the program in 1982.
Oh,
okay. Okay. And then share with us, because you did talk earlier about that you had kind of told the Marriage Encounter folks that there's some things that need to be translated, or there's some things that need to be emphasized or focused on that you're currently missing. So what you created with the pre-Cana for Black couples, tell us a little bit about that. What did that first program look like?
Well, we designed it. I mean, this is one of the wonderful things, and all credit to the Family Ministries Office in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Rather than giving us a booklet and instructions and do this and do that, they allowed us, it was 3 couples, us and Martin and Pat Red and John and Pam Ashford. We just came together and decided this is what we need for good marriage preparation. What do couples need? What are the conditions of marriage today, particularly in our community, things like that. And we were allowed to shape a program by and for our community. And
it was really successful.
It was very successful at the beginning.
Yes, we had a waiting list.
Okay.
And this was, we had one program on the south side and one on the west side. And it was very successful. But as marriages started to decline, and the church got smaller, we were called upon less and less. And priests can tell you now, and deacons can tell you, they're doing more funerals than weddings.
Sure.
So we saw that decline, and it just went to the point where we said, okay, that's enough. But the retreat experience was still going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we called that a Rusi.
Yeah, Rusi is a Kiswahili word for marriage celebration.
Marriage celebration.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And so we shaped a program, a curriculum, so to speak, that was just that. It was celebrative. It was really a time of couples coming together and letting their lights shine on each other. and other couples. And we had a structured way of sharing so that we wouldn't compromise privacies and sensitivities and things like that. And it's stretched us
I know.
for sure. And we served.
Yeah. It served not only the African American community, but the greater church
We
as well.
served
Everyone.
We shared this retreat experience since, I guess, we launched the retreat, the Arusi retreat, in the early 90s, like
Okay.
92.
Okay.
And since then, we've been in dioceses all over the country, not just in the Black community, but elsewhere. And even here in Chicago, we've served white parishes, and we've been as far as Antigua in the Eastern Antilles in the Caribbean. So it's been a major part of our life.
Yeah.
And
No, that was cool.
yeah,
We
Yeah.
did it a second time last year.
yeah.
You
Just think about it.
you
Being
mentioned
away and on an island.
At a nice
in a
resort.
resort. I mean, it was like having, a great honeymoon experience as
Yeah.
well as having an enrichment.
And the interesting thing was the timing was such that it was right at our 48th anniversary.
Okay.
So we spent our 48th anniversary in a resort in Antigua leading a marriage retreat.
Wonderful. What a wonderful
Ain't-
celebration of your own marriage.
Yeah.
And your journey
All
together.
we can say is, ain't God good?
Yeah. Amen. I was going to ask, so just share a little bit, how has Arusi, the retreats, that experience changed since the early 90s? What have you emphasized? What have you added to keep it relevant, to keep it meaningful, to keep it a vibrant celebration of marriage?
Well, first of all, we started off in retreat houses that weren't very comfortable. And where the couples are separated and the bathrooms and the hallways, that kind of thing. And on the evaluations, that was a negative, having the retreat houses. The plus with the retreat house is having a little chapel. When you want to have a prayer service, it's so perfect.
And the religious aesthetics are always there.
Absolutely.
But we decided to start doing them in the hotels where you had better food, it was more comfortable, and we bring in the aesthetics, and shape the space that we're using. And we found that to be much more prevalent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, I think what we've learned in this, we got involved. I was directing marriage ministry for the Archdiocese of Chicago during this time. We got involved with the Healthy Marriage Initiative, which was a federal program of, teaching relationship skills to couples, mostly unmarried couples, but those who had started their families already, were already raising kids. And some of the things we learned in that process was about how there's this symbiotic relationship between marriage and the community, that marriages need their communities to support them, to believe in them, and encourage them. Otherwise, it's very easy to give up. Marriage isn't easy. And we also discovered that, even more, how healthy couples create healthy communities. Healthy marriage helps the community to be healthy. And so it's that symbiosis there. And that has really become the major theme of our work.
Okay.
And our book, we wrote a book, we call it Marriage on the Lampstand. And that's about, from Matthew's gospel in the 5th chapter, it says, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel basket, but puts it on a lampstand where it gives light to all in the house, just so we too must let our light shine before others and give glory to God. And so our encouragement to couples is that, times get hard, but know that your marriage is sacramental, a real presence of God. And sometimes it's that God who celebrates in glory on the throne triumphant. And sometimes it's our God who suffered and died for undeserving people.
Amen.
And so when we find ourselves in the dumps, we can visualize ourselves just being on the cross.
All right.
And something that we've learned through our faith, that the cross isn't the end of the story. There's an Easter on the other side of this, and we need to be faithful to it in order to reach that. And it really resonates in our own experience. People hear us saying that we've been married 48 years, going on 49. And it's just, oh, how do you do it? And someone had even actually echoed back saying, oh, 49 years of bliss. And I said, slow down, please.
I'm gonna ask you to slow down at this moment. We're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back, and I want to talk about this notion of where have you seen marriages go and where are they going, and let's zero in on how do you keep a marriage healthy and holy.
Sure.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning, because really you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
I am a seminarian.
The Church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
Welcome back to Black Catholic Initiative. Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar of Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago, sitting in for Father Michael Trail. Delighted to have as our guest today Andrew and Teri Lyke. We're talking about marriage. I titled this episode, Marriage Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. You were talking before the break about healthy marriages and marriages needing a community, and then in turn, healthy marriages build strong communities. I guess if I'd ask, are there, for our listeners, 5 characteristics, maybe there are more, but top 5 characteristics of healthy marriages?
So, well, one of them, I wouldn't know if I can't say top, but it's certainly an important. It's important that couples recognize that they're vulnerable, that experience that draws them to marriage is really a sense of invincibility. You know that we've got it. It's so rich, and our love is so powerful and so strong, and that is so not true. that we are human, and then once we're into marriage, especially in the earliest years, that we go through periods of disillusionment with each other. We begin to doubt, was this a good choice? Or, I didn't sign up for this, is a term people often say. And to recognize that we need help. We can't do this by ourselves. And when necessary, seek counseling, and don't wait till it's broken before you do it. Wait till do it when you're struggling. And rely on the church.
Yeah. So I think the second one would be, you have to have some couple friends. That's part of not doing this by yourself. But I mean, couple friends to even just hang out with. It's not like you have to, have sharing questions or anything heavy, but just to have that camaraderie, just to know that I'm not in this alone.
And couples who are in different stages of marriage than you are, we benefited from some great mentorship from veteran couples in our earliest years. They really kind of pulled us out of the hole we had dug ourselves in. And we have committed ourselves to being that for other couples, that we have to be open to mentoring and helping couples, young couples, get through those disillusionments. And what you find is once you get past those earliest years, you realize that, no, this won't be a cakewalk, that there is actually work that needs to be done. And when we're willing to put up the work and do it, that we can find that, oh, this is the joy of marriage, not the romance of the early years, but the work of, throughout your married life.
Yeah, couples also, especially those that have children, those parenting years are rough. They have to really find some time together as a couple. So it's important that they have a date night. It's just a time together where they could go out to dinner without the kids, where they can talk about us. You have to have other conversations other than the kids and bills and that. So how are we doing as a couple? And maybe talk about some needs and dreams and communicate while you're having a good time together.
And be intentional about your relationship. Don't take it for granted. Don't just let it float. Always be about learning and growing and building and praying together. I think that if there's a number one, that's it. They're having a spiritual life together. It really shapes you, that when we place ourselves together before God, emotionally and spiritually naked to God, put it all out there, we find that it's easier to be that way with each other. That kind of transparency that's needed in permanent lifetime relationship,
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
There's a lot of others.
I was going to say, now, you mentioned before the break your book, Marriage on the Lampstand. Your hope in writing that book is that when a couple reads it, or they read it together, what was your hope in writing that book, an objective?
Well, when you open the book, you first of all can relate to our situation. We tell some stories, and some are good, and some are pretty funny, actually. How we got through this. But what you would see at the end of each chapter, there are reflection questions Okay, we've talked to a group of folks from I forget what city it was, and was it? They used the book for their parish couples group.
Okay.
And they go through one chapter at a time and share on the questions at the end of that chapter. And they said it's been great for them.
Okay.
But you know, the book wasn't written just for couples. It was written for the church, pastoral ministers. When we talk about what couples need to do, we also talk about what parishes need to do. You know, we put a lot of attention, well, maybe not even enough of that, but we put attention to preparing couples. But we put very little, if any, attention to preparing parishes. Because when a couple in your parish marries, that raises the bar. That means the parish needs to support them and encourage them. We always talk about how our relationship, our marriage, being sacramental as it is, doesn't belong solely to us. It belongs to our faith community as well. We are an entity of the church, a sacramental entity of the church that needs to be put in place, put it to work, and let it shine over the parish. So when we find those parishes that really have strong marriage support programs, you find that those couples are great leaders in the parish. They feed the parish, you know, and the kids fall right in line with that too.
But this is that place, the church, is where other families are watching you as a couple. We tell couples, remember, the children are watching you. They may come from a home that may not have parents living together, you know, or married at all. They need to see that sacrament live in action.
Okay.
And when you know that people are looking at you, the children are looking at you, you find yourself in a better position. You know, you hold yourself differently. You know that you are that example of a healthy African American marriage. Not perfect,
yeah,
but you are trying your best to let your light shine.
And I think modern marriage is so draped in hearts and roses and flowers and all that stuff. The wedding and all that. I mean, that's nice. We don't put that down, but we said that's not all there is, and that's not even the best part. You know, it's nice, but the work and we're at that stage in our lives where we can look back and have hindsight that really affirms for us that God has walked with us and journeyed with us, and that we've done good. You know, we haven't done perfect. We're still working on that, but
well, that's a good place. That's a good place for us to stop here. We've definitely got to have you back on to talk more about how a parish community can support marriage and married couples, and vice versa. There's so much to be shared. I want our listeners to make sure they get the book, Marriage on a Lampstand, and look for our next episode here on Black Catholic Initiative. Andrew and Teri, thank you so much.
It was great being with you, Jim.
All right.